Welcome to How to Cook That. I'm Ann Reardon and today we're making a giant double caramel Magnum Ego ice cream. This week's Notification Squad shout out goes to Sarah. For your chance at a shout out, subscribe to How to Cook That and press the bell to turn on notifications and put done in the comments for me so I know you have done so. The first thing we need to do is make the caramel so that it has time to cool down. The caramel that's inside a Magnum, when you defrost it, looks like this. It's more of like a thickened custard texture than a caramel. It doesn't taste very sweet, it just has that sort of artificial caramel flavour to it. Because ours is giant, we want it to taste amazing, so we're going to make an actual caramel. And I've done some experiments with different quantities to get a consistency that's spreadable at room temperature and not too hard when it's frozen, because we need to be able to cut into it and eat it. It's not quite as dark a colour as the other one, but we can just add some caramel colouring to it to get it to the same colour. So to make that, we need some glucose syrup, sugar, cream, milk, white chocolate, and more cream. Tip the sugar and the milk and the first lot of cream into the saucepan with the glucose syrup. Add a candy thermometer and stir that over high heat. I'll put all the recipe quantities for this on the howtocookthat.net website for you, and there's a link to that below. Also on the website, you can upload a photo in the comments if you've made something. Check out these ones. Brenda made the guitar cake, May made the gravity-defying watering can cake, Ann Dirks made the fire engine, Saskia made the dump truck, and this Lego police station is by Eleanor. Ency made the Black Forest cake, and Michelle made macarons for the first time, and they look perfect, Michelle. And Joel made the Snickers bar. You guys are amazing. You've done such a good job. With the caramel, we want to heat that up to 116 degrees Celsius or 240 degrees Fahrenheit, by which stage it will be thick like this and starting to go brown. Add in the second lot of cream and stir that well. It'll take a little while to get those to mix together, but as the cream starts to heat up, they'll combine quite easily. Bring that back up to the boil, then switch off the heat and add in the white chocolate. Once it's melted, just use a whisk to whisk it through and distribute that white chocolate evenly through the mixture. Pour that hot caramel into a bowl, and you can add colour here if you want it to be a deeper colour, and then leave that to cool. Now you'll need some sort of board to put your ice cream on, and make sure that it fits in your freezer, really important, and print out your template, which you can also find on the website. Now you can scale this down if you need to, if you've got a smaller freezer. I've covered mine in plastic book covering because ice cream is obviously quite moist and wet, so paper is just not going to cut it. Place some non-stick baking paper over the top of your template and pour on some melted milk chocolate, spreading it out to the size of your template. Now, I'm not bothering to temper this chocolate because it's going to be frozen. It's not going to be at room temperature, so it doesn't matter. Take a large tub of ice cream and place the thickness template over the top that's showing how thick our ice cream needs to be, and use a knife just to cut down the ice cream on both sides of the template so that you're getting a thick slice. Once you've cut two of those, run the knife around the outside of your container just to loosen it so you can tip out your ice cream. Repeat that with a second tub of ice cream and place those pieces in a line on a tray. Smooth out the top using a spatula so that it's nice and flat on the top of your ice cream, and then add your template on top. Cut off the excess pieces from the top there and add them to the side to fill in any gaps. Now at this stage the ice cream is getting quite soft, so once you've shaped it, I want you to put it back in the freezer and dial your freezer down to its coldest setting and let that go really firm. Flip your chocolate over onto your baseboard, position it where you want the ice cream to be, making sure you're leaving room for the stick at the end, and peel off the baking paper. Add some spoons of that yummy caramel on top. I like salted caramel more than normal caramel, so I've actually just added a little pinch of salt to mine as well. You don't have to do that, you can leave it as just plain, it's up to you. Spread that out so that you get a thin layer covering your milk chocolate almost to the edge. On top of that, we need a second layer of chocolate because this ice cream has a double shell of chocolate with the caramel in between. And for this inside shell, I'm just using Ice Magic so we can get it really, really thin. To keep it cold while I'm working, I've set a tray of ice in the freezer, and then I'm going to put the baseboard on top of that. This is also a good idea when you're serving it to the table. If you're not going to be cutting it straight away, it'll just keep it nice and cold. Grab your ice cream out of the freezer and line up the top and slide it off the tray by pulling back that baking paper underneath the tray as you go so that it just guides it off. Then pour over a whole bottle of ice magic, working quickly to spread that out on the top, and then add more to the sides as you go and spread it out. Now at this stage the sides look a bit messy, but don't worry, the outside chocolate will look perfect. We'll do that using a different method. Place that back in the freezer for about an hour to firm up, and then cover the outside with a layer of the yummy salted caramel. And once you've finished with this, you're going to need to put it back in the freezer again. Most ice cream shops have a big walk-in freezer that you can work in when you're doing this sort of thing, but we of course don't have one. So you just have to put it in the freezer and then take it out for short bursts and do the next step, and then put it back in the freezer to keep it firm the whole time. I did think about making this out of cake and buttercream and fondant, which would of course be easier, but if you're making something giant, you want it to taste like the real thing, not just look like it. Let's make the handle out of white chocolate. White chocolate is a little bit on the pale side, so I'm going to add in a bit of cocoa powder to colour that and just stir it through. Put some baking paper over the template and pour the white chocolate over the top. Now we need this fairly thick, so don't worry if it's going over the lines. Let it just flow bigger than you need, and then we'll cut it to size in a minute. Add in 2 cake support sticks, making sure they're close enough together to be within the narrow part of the handle. Now I know that you might think you only need 1 here, but if you only have 1, it's going to flip and turn around, so we need 2 to hold it steady. Add more chocolate on top of those sticks and then sprinkle it with a little more cocoa powder and spread it across the top to give a wood grain look. Once it's starting to set, place the template over the top and cut out that handle shape. Then just use your knife to add some lines going down the handle so that it looks like it's wood. Once that is completely set, put your template over the ice cream and use it to position the handle, then place it at the middle of the height of the ice cream and push it into place. Doesn't that just look perfect? It looks like a wooden handle. Now cut a strip of acetate the length of each side of your ice cream and cover that in milk chocolate. Lift up your strip and then wrap it around the side. And if any has run out of the bottom, which will happen as you lift it up, just run your spatula along the bottom of the acetate so it makes it easier to get that off later. Repeat that on the other side and then pour the rest of the chocolate over the top of the ice cream, working quickly to spread it out. Now remember, the ice cream underneath is freezing cold, of course, so this chocolate's going to set fast. So you don't have much time to spread it out. Just give it a few spreads and then leave it, because if you're trying to spread it while it's setting, it's going to look messy. Take a knife and trim off any chocolate that has dripped down over the sides of the acetate, and then, yes, you guessed it, put it back in the freezer again for at least 30 minutes. Once you've done that, you can just peel off the acetate from around the sides, and that gives you nice, straight, neat sides. To take a bite out of it, I'm using a donut cutter. Any large round cookie cutter would do. Just soak it in some hot water first to make it warm. And would you look at that? Yum! Looks so good. A white chocolate handle, a double chocolate coat with caramel in between the layers, and that vanilla ice cream in the middle. Subscribe to How to Cook That for more crazy sweet creations. Click here for more of my videos. Make it a great week, and I'll see you on Friday.